All right, hi, I'm Rob Campbell. Today we're joined by Jim Huether, the CEO of Hyperice. Jim, thanks for making time for us.
Thank you, Rob. Really excited to chat today.
Well, so it probably makes a little bit of sense, with our audience, people may not be aware. I think, the Hypervolt has become synonymous with so many sports out there, but people might not equate it yet with Hyperice. Can you just maybe give a little bit of the background on the company and kind of the role you play in sports recovery and movement enhancement?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a health tech, recovery tech company, really with the big mission of helping to optimize movement, enhance performance, with the big goal of helping everybody on earth move better and live better. So it's a company that really started out developing innovative products for pro athletes in the early stages of the company. And we've since transitioned into really helping everybody on earth move better and live better. So I joined the company in 2014. I've been the CEO for right around 7 years, and it's been a tremendous journey.
And you guys have been on a bit of a tear lately, growth-wise. No one really told you. Past year was supposed to be a struggle. It was supposed to be down out. You've been able to adapt. Can you just give a kind of a brief summary of like what that's been like and what kind of growth you've seen over the past year?
Yes. So 2020 obviously came with a lot of challenges, but I actually think it was our best year as a company. It was our biggest revenue year and one of our biggest growth years. But I think most importantly, we really showed our adaptability as a company. There were a lot of challenges. The environment was shifting quite a bit. Our business model previously, before COVID, was really predicated on delivering experiences, physical experiences, because our products change the physiology of the human body. And we had to adapt into this digital first environment. We had to kind of rethink how we could connect with our consumers in a meaningful way where they weren't interacting with our products at an Equinox or an Orange Theory. And I think we did a really good job as a team pushing through. I remember I communicated to our team right when COVID hit, there's two type of companies here. There's one that will park its boat and wait for the storm to pass, and the other type that's going right through the storm, knowing that if they get through the storm, they're going to be far ahead of everybody else. So we went right through the storm and, got really aggressive, created a lot of strategic partnerships that elevated the brand throughout the world, put our foot on the gas on the marketing side, tried to really stretch our creativity on how we connect with customers, and turned out to be a great year. We grew by almost 44% and had a very, very profitable year.
Great. Well, congratulations on all that success, for sure. I think there's so many, cool angles we could take and discuss the company, but for purpose of today, we want to kind of keep the focus on, the consumer journey and getting through and how you're interacting and communicating with the customers. So maybe we'll start with, in general, like what is your target market, or key target markets? Do you define a certain, person, or, it's so broad and wide in so many ways, but who do you see as those targets?
Yeah, good question. So it's interesting because our target market really is anybody that moves when you think about it, right? Because anybody their mobility, their movement, their health, right, could be a consumer for us. We break it down into a variety of channels. We have 10 channels of businesses so that we're hyper focused on, but really those channels are kind of conduits to people. For example, if we're focused on a physical therapy and chiropractic channel, right, we're working with the chiropractors and the PTs to then deliver the product experience to the end user. If we're working on our fitness channel, you might have the digital fitness like a Equinox Plus or a Peloton or a Tonal or something like that. And then you have your physical fitness locations, the Equinox locations and the Orange Theory location. So in that consumer segment, we're looking at how do we interact on the fitness side? How do we interact with in-person experiences? So there's a variety of channels that we go after, but really the end goal is just we're trying to find unique ways to connect with people. And we call those in a lot of cases experience delivery mechanisms, right? A physical therapist is delivering experience to a patient or a client. A personal trainer is delivering a product experience to a gym goer at Equinox, right? A massage therapist is delivering experience to a user that comes into a spa at a Massage Envy or Ritz-Carlton or something of that nature. So that's kind of the way we approach our consumer.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got a variety of ways to reach them through different experiences. What, obviously you're customizing that a little bit, but how's your communication strategy changed over the past year as some of those direct experiences have gone away and you haven't been able to, fulfill that? Like what ways have you compensated?
Yeah, we've had to get a lot more technical in explaining the value and utility of what the products actually do to the human body. So before, we could rely on, we know that every person who touches the Hypervolt is going to tell 8 people about the Hypervolt, right? That's what our data suggests. And that's pretty incredible data. But without that experience, right, we're not getting that same viral effect. So now we have to teach people, what does the product actually do to the body? How is it affecting the soft tissue, right? What is it doing to enhance your movement or mobility? So I think we spent a lot more time on kind of the value proposition and how we communicate with customers in a way that they could understand how it's changing the physiology of the body, but also make it simple where they might see an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad and they were able to convert. So it's a combination of that, kind of the value proposition articulation, and also our storytelling from a brand perspective. And we did that through a lot of our strategic partnerships with the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, trying to target that consumer and tell a story with Patrick Mahomes or, you know, Anthony Davis or whoever it may be, so that we would inspire people to come into the brand and then learn about the technology. So multi-pronged approach, but those were 2 key elements.
Right, and you're a place where, you know, not only word of mouth is important. That was a really cool stat about 8 people talking, but it's almost like the authenticity of who it's coming from, right? So in the past, you've got, you know, licensed, credible, you know, physical therapists. You've got, you know, experts saying you're using this device, is a device they're using on you, so you feel like trust them. But then, do you hear that people have the same level of respect and trust in their peers, the word of mouth, that direction, as from professionals?
We've had a lot of success with influencers that, you know, obviously we do well with professional athletes to inspire and draw attention and bring people in. We've been very effective with micro influencers because I think people do have that level of trust already, just like they would a personal trainer. There's something there that connects with them a little more emotionally. They feel like they're being spoken to more directly. So we did go a little bit more aggressive with our micro influencer strategy through COVID, and that was very effective. Finding subgroups and really targeting the messages that were coming from our influencers so that they would find a common voice with the consumer and help convert. So I think that was a shift for us. We shifted into a lot of micro influencers during COVID, and it was very effective.
So that the communication's coming that way, but now the fulfillment may be changing a bit. Let's shift a little bit, talk about the direct to consumer sales and how that evolved, like from, you know, has it grown significantly? It's like it was always part of your business. Was it, you know, amplified by the past year?
Yeah, so our direct to consumer business jumped, I think it was 18% year over year. So it was a pretty big jump from where we were previously. So I think that if you look at the reason for that, I feel like our customer is still there, right? The customer at Equinox or Orange Theory or wherever it is, Ritz-Carlton, Marriott, performance centers, they're just in a different place, right? We're not finding them in the same place. They're at home, they're doing something else. Now we have to target that Equinox customer in a place where they're not right at Equinox at the retail location. So I think for us, that was a challenge. We got really good at our digital marketing and analytics and understanding trends on where some of these consumers that we used to have were going. And I think it took us maybe 3 or 4 months to really nail that and get our return on investment up. And we started to really thrive in the back half of the year.
So there's the adaptability there. You must have been proud of the team to be able to see that, be able to adapt that quickly and make that happen.
Yeah, they were great. Our digital marketing team really had a strong year.
Nice. So did you see some of these as like the jump in direct consumer? Was that, you know, something that was kind of coming, was going to be an evolution anyway, and it just got sped up? Or do you think it was really the direction of the business was changed by what was going on externally in the past year?
I think the external factor was a big part of it. And just to clarify, the 18% jump is 18% greater as a general percentage of our sales. From the year over year, we actually jumped about 45%, right? If you took the number that we did last year in revenue versus this year, it was a very big jump. but as a percentage of overall sales, it jumped 18%. So I think that, I think COVID was an accelerant in a sense for us for two reasons. I think one, we were able to target the digital consumer, which then had a higher margin for us, right? Because they're coming into our e-com as opposed to coming into Best Buy where we're selling it at a lower margin, right? So that was a benefit. But also, I think that more people were just thinking about their health and wellness. Not saying that our products help you with COVID, because they don't, but people were just a little bit more aware of how important it was to take care of your body, whether that be, you know, what you put in your body through nutrition, what you drink, what you eat, whatever it may be. And I think that that kind of spike in awareness around people's health, we were able to capitalize on in a meaningful way, just in trying to help people understand what our products could do to change the physiology of the body. So I think it was an accelerant for our company and a lot of companies in health.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about, you know, how the digital marketing team was so successful and reacting quickly. Did you see some key channels that were specifically effective for you during that transition that, you know, they were able to maximize?
Yeah, our physical therapy and chiro channels were really good. I think a lot of people were unable to go into their normal location, so they were at home looking for solutions. Like, you know, I have a stiff back, I have pain, whatever it may be, I need help. I can't go to see my masseuse or my physical therapist or chiro. So we really tried to figure out, okay, how do we speak to consumers that are at home looking for solutions to get out of pain or improve their mobility, right? Where are these customers? How do we talk to them? How do we communicate in a way that isn't too clinical, but provide things they can do at home to kind of replace what they were getting and going into a physical location? So we did a lot of that through strategic partnerships. A lot of our key partners adapted with us, and we did actually live programming at home through our partners so that we could communicate together. For an Equinox customer at home, we did some stuff with Orange Theory, with Barry's Boot Camp, Select Medical, where we would teach courses and curriculum for the at-home consumer who used to come into Select or used to come into Orange Theory. And do it a way that we still could speak the same language that they were used to from an Orange Theory, but deliver that in a different way at home. And that was also very effective. So I do think that the strategic partnerships that we had that were maybe slowed or completely ceased in the physical location, we took them on at a digital location through partnership and tried to communicate in an effective way to drive awareness and attention.
Great example of innovation and involving the partners as well. I was going to ask you if there's a specific example of creativity and adaptability that you like the most from what you've seen in your company. It sounds like a good one.
Yeah, I mean, they were really, and they happened fast too. A lot of people at that time were like, we got to do something. We tried so many things. Rob, like we did online happy hours, online workshops, live streams. We did, you know, stretch and run classes, massage therapy clinics. Like we did everything. Some of them totally flopped, to be candid. And then we found some niches that were really effective. And a lot of the partners, they were open to trying things as well. Almost all of our strategic partners were willing and open to trying anything just to generate some excitement, especially during the first 3 to 4 months.
Sure.
We tried to bring the energy. We tried to bring, you know, good education and things that people could really benefit from a value perspective. And our partners were key in that.
Great. Well, I love a good opportunity for a segue. So we're going to jump on this one. So as you were trying different things, moving out there, some things are working, some things weren't. The specific content obviously is important, right? What you're producing, what you're doing. So then, you know, how important of that role does content play in your overall marketing plan, both in like so-called normal times, you know, and now? Is it, you know, universal? Does it change? Or, I mean, how much focus do you put on that in the investment and the creation and the measuring of the success?
Yeah, content is massively important for us, especially because we have all these assets that, you know, are inspirational assets. Patrick Mahomes is part of our brand. He's an investor and an athlete. Naomi Osaka, Fernando Tatis Jr., you know, LeBron James is an investor. I mean, we have some really big time athletes and personalities that we can market not only here in the US, but internationally. And so unlocking those in creative ways that also teach people about what the products are doing. So rather than just showing something with Naomi Osaka for performance advantage for tennis, what is she doing at home in her lifestyle? How do we apply that in the US and in Japan, right? How do we build a campaign telling the story around her preparation for the Olympics? How do we take her background in design and fashion and everything she's so passionate about there and bring something creative to light? Maybe we show her designing a Hypervolt, right? So really taking these big time assets that brands would generally humbly die to have in their arsenal and unlocking their power in different ways so that different sets of consumers can engage in a positive way. So that's been a really exciting element for us. Of course, through the strategic partnerships we have with Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, UFC, we also have their reach. So there's deliverables in our deals where they're posting on social and they're helping to amplify our story. And then we have to tailor our content so it fits into the NFL audience, right? Coming from the NFL, what's the active voice, right? Who are we using? What demographic do we speak to? What are we trying to do? How do we make it not seem forced, like we're trying to sell to the customer, right? So that's been a fun challenge for us. Well, we just launched a campaign with Amanda Nunes today. She's fighting tomorrow night. And you know, we actually focus not only on her preparing for her UFC fight tomorrow night, but also her as a mother, because it's Women's Month, it's Women's History Month. So kind of tying in that element of Amanda. So it's a more, you know, people can connect with that more on a women's lifestyle piece. So yeah, we focus on it a lot and try to kind of stretch our resources in a positive way and find different angles to communicate with the customer.
And is most of this coming out of the in-house team? Obviously, the partnerships are very powerful and strong. You're leveraging that, but are you able to, you know, keep tabs on all this and generate these ideas and move forward from your core team in-house?
Yeah, almost all of it's done in-house. We have external consultants who will do some of our video creation, but from a content planning perspective, mapping out our strategies and executing our storytelling, that's all in our internal marketing team. And content creation team. They do a really good job.
And a lot of these key strategic partnerships you talked about, not only with the leagues, but with some of the top name athletes, have happened recently within the past year. I mean, that's a great example you touched on earlier, just sticking to the strategy and, you know, foot on the gas and moving forward, no matter what the external conditions there, to kind of put that, you know, make that happen. It seems like partnerships like that touch on a bunch of different parts in the journey, from the, you know, awareness to decision and credibility moving toward purchase. Is that part of that strategic initiative?
Yes, definitely. I think most of the strategic partnerships as it relates to content and the digital environment are more brand awareness plays, right? We use those to kind of drive the funnel and to get people into the funnel. And actually the data behind some of the consumers, like the NFL consumer, is very different than you may expect. Like there are a lot of health tech individuals in that NFL consumer database. So our partners have been really good in kind of helping us understand, here's our consumer demographic, here's how you might want to market to them. But we're not necessarily using the NFL partnership just to drive immediate conversion and sales. It's more about, why are the NFL and Hyperice partnered? What's the story behind that? What's the meaning behind why the NFL selected our company to be the official recovery technology partner? What are we doing not only to elevate player longevity, and how does that extend to the everyday person to improve their performance in the workplace or whatever it may be? So I think the partnerships are more brand reach, driving them in, and then we're educating them a little bit more and eventually converting them.
Excellent. Then outside of those partnerships, you've also been in acquisition mode. Yep. You've been even up to a couple months ago, you know, building the overall presence of the brand and the you know, functionality of the brand. So what impact do you kind of hope that those acquisitions have on how consumers view your brand and see your capabilities overall?
Great question. Both acquisitions were important on a couple there are kind of two key components to each acquisition that were two common themes, so to speak. Both of them were for innovation. So the technology that we acquired was something that we felt was adding significant value to the ecosystem of our technology suite, right? We now have pneumatic compression category, vibration category, percussion, and thermal technology category. There's a variety of ways to manipulate the body so that we can help people move more effectively. So technology was at the core of both acquisitions. The second component was people. Both acquisitions, we integrated the teams, and there are really smart people in both organizations that we acquired that now, became part of the Hyperice team. And I think from a perception perspective, to answer your question, I think it reinforces our commitment to innovation, right? We're willing to go out there and scour the world for the best tools and technologies. We either develop them in-house. We have aerospace engineers in-house developing products every day. We have 6 or 7 technologies at any given time. Maybe only 2 or 3 actually hit the market. But I think for the consumer to say, hey, look, this company is so, they value innovation so effectively that they're going to go out and acquire the best technologies in the world and bring them into the ecosystem to further the mission and the movement of helping everybody move better and live better. So I do think that not only grabbing those audiences and bringing them into the Hyperice ecosystem and teaching them about all of our devices, that's obviously an important gain from a digital perspective. I think the brand positioning element was really important for us. It just had a great signal to the market. And we looked at a lot of our data from consumers, and people really responded well to the acquisitions. They both made sense. They understood why these technologies could play into the Hyperice ecosystem, and it helped them understand what our mission was and how important it was to have tools and technologies that could help.
Right. Yeah. It seems intuitive to in the care mode too, as we're continuing these relationships with the consumers. You're creating the new tools and things that they need as your new opportunities, and giving them more stuff. So that's very smart.
Yep.
Where do you see growth coming from in your industry over? I mean, I'm sure what you consider your industry. I know there's a lot of different parts of that, but maybe focus more on growth through the company. What are you kind of targeting and looking at as those key initiatives moving ahead?
Yeah, so we're still in the inception point, even in the US, but a big opportunity for growth is global expansion. We're really focused on our business in Europe and Asia, Australia, Canada, because we're a little bit further along here in the US, Hyperice is, from a brand perspective, than we are in international markets. So that's a big focus for us. The other big focus is our software and what we're calling our HyperSmart ecosystem, which pulls wearable activity data from your devices, and then we can actually curate recovery, body maintenance, and warm-up content based on your activity metrics to help you move better, recover, and those interact with the devices. So for example, if you ran 3 miles and your heart rate was X and your intensity level of that workout was Y, and you love tennis, our app and our connected ecosystem will then send you and curate recovery content from your favorite tennis performance coach or your favorite athlete based on those analytics, and provide you recommendations on what to do to recover. Right?
Wow. So the robot trainer comes in now with the Hypervolt in each arm and administers my care.
Yeah, it's kind of like an intuitive wellness partner in a sense, but we're really working on. We have the hardware throughout the world. We're working on developing even more robust machine learning software, and this will just add the utility to the products, because you'll know when to use them, why to use them, how to use them, and we'll be able to deliver content in a format and a language that you will connect with most appropriately. So that's a really exciting growth opportunity for us that we're diving in a really big way.
So as we wrap up here, maybe just one piece of advice to some of the companies, the people watching, the founders, the marketing people trying to get to that next level, working on their own customer journey. What's something critical, like maybe one critical must do that you see, no matter how limited your budget is, something that's kind of achievable and very important to jump to that next level?
Yeah, I would say making sure that you continually bring people back to the movement and the mission, right? Especially if you're in health tech or you're in a space where the movement and mission is important. not getting too lost just in transactions, because people now, younger consumers, are really starting to, they buy on brand, they buy on mission. They want to know what the company's all about. They want to know, sometimes they're more inspired by that than the features on the product. So we talk less about the fact that our product has the best motor technology and the most power, and it's featuring quiet glide technology. It's the quietest percussion device on the earth and most powerful, right? We talk less about that than we do about how this company is on a mission to transform the way you perceive health and wellness, right? And how our goal is to help everyone on earth move better and live better. So I think people are more interested now in understanding the DNA of a brand, what that brand is trying to accomplish. And a lot of people want to be part of that. So I'd say never forget the movement and the mission, because it's really important to connect with young consumers.
Great point. Thank you so much for sharing that insight today and for all your time, and congrats on all your success.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Really enjoyed this.